So today, you guys will be seeing how to effectively date.
Come on, man, let's record.
We are recording. So,
I'm glad you brought up the promise ring.
hold on.
You were still there.
I know. You know, like, if... Why do you always do that?
I'm trying to catch you.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is your fave couple, Trin and Trey. Today we are discussing our courtship. I know you guys have been asking us to do this since August. It's been a minute. So we are here and back and ready to dive in. Okay, you ready? Okay. Okay, so today we're talking about our courtship. If you guys haven't already, make sure you check out how we started dating and actually how we met. So you can kind of put like the pieces together so we're not like jumping out of order. So, me and Trey, our courtship. Where should we begin, sweetie?
I guess after we started dating.
Okay, so after we started dating, we're going to dive in and talk about what we did during our courtship, like how it went, things you should take away from courting. Make sure you have a foundation on God. I think that's that's number one in courting, right? Because you have to make sure your foundation is on God and not on each other, because once it's on each other, I think you look at the other person for your happiness and you kind of seek your identity from the other person. But if you focus it on God, then you're able to kind of thank God for them, but also make sure you're getting your purpose from God, you know? So you never want to put that on the other person, because then that will weigh down your relationship completely.
Right, so we kind of started it with that basis, just like this is we're going to try to keep God first. And I think we talked about like how in our past relationships that wasn't really one of our focal points. And our thing was just to get different results, and to get the final result, which is what we wanted, which was marriage, we had to do something different. And I've never courted before. I didn't know what that means or what that looked like. So we basically started with a conversation like, hey, this is kind of how we're going to do things. And it starts with God.
Always. Like you said, we've never done it. I've never done it, and I've always wanted to court someone, but when you don't find the right person, you just don't do the right things. That's just period, point blank. So to be able to walk with Trey and come together and know before we started dating, like, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, I'm down for courting. Are you?
Let's just say this. Courting, for people who don't know,
right,
is intentional dating with the end goal
of
being married. Yeah. So we had dated before, we had did the dating thing, and it's just a placeholder, somebody that fills space.
You just waste your money on and
your time, really.
More.
And so, it was a new thing for us. Had no clue what it was. I knew how to date, but I didn't know how to court. And if you haven't seen our past video, you definitely want to go check that out, where we talked about not just dating just to date. We were at a place in both our lives where we're trying to get married. I always wanted to get married young, so we're trying to get married. I don't want to keep dating for years and years and years and years. So I want to be serious, and that was kind of our preface before we even started dating. I want to be serious. I'm not going to date you if this is just something to do.
This is just time to pass time, like something to pass time, almost like a hobby, this is way more important and more serious than either of us ever could have ever imagined it to be. That is why you want to start courting. And if you're ready to start courting, make sure that you have a great foundation. Because sometimes people may start courting and the end goal might not be marriage. So you never know, and that's why it's important to court intentionally, and make sure, because there's a lot of couples that I know personally who started courting and they realize in courting, you know what, you're not my partner,
right.
And that's okay.
And that's okay, right.
That is totally fine, because that's how you find out you guys are either meant to be or you're not. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. So the second thing me and Trey made sure we did while we were courting is we made sure we had a guideline, a book, something to read and grow together on. And I think we ended up reading, I can't remember the name of it. It was dating. What book was it?
It was like Before You Get Married. It was like, yeah, I forget too.
I'll have to figure it out, and I'll try to link it below for you guys, because it was a great book for me and Trey to read. We read it faithfully. We read it every night. We had discussions over it, and that book opened our eyes to so much. Like, you don't realize until you go through. And because we were long distance already, we didn't actually go through majority of it.
Let me also say this real quick, and I don't mean to cut you off, baby, but the other thing is to make sure that both people are prepared for what courting looks like and understand, like, hey, this is the direction we're going. Because if you're a guy and you're trying to court a girl and she doesn't know or is not really with that, then, it's going to be a waste of your time, and it's going to be disappointing. So
huge disappointment.
So you want to make sure that that's something you communicate. Like, that's definitely something you say. Like, hey, I want to court. This is what I'm trying to get out of this. And just avoid the waste of time that relationships tend to be.
Yeah, there's so many experiences and so many things like we don't realize goes on or happens, and you're just like, well, how do I ever know? So we found a great book and we read it faithfully. We had our discussions and we honestly prayed about it. Like, every night we'd go into another chapter, or if we didn't get a chapter completed, I believe we read like a certain number of pages, and the chapters were short, so it really wasn't anything to draw out. But it was also really great because me and Trey, for the very first time, I think we were able to see how the other person thinks. I think it was a great book to just start growing together on. And I feel like we can always come to the other person and try to look our best and try to be our best, but it comes down and our true colors show and come out when we're faced with things that we never thought about, and that is what this book brought to us.
I think a lot of the things that like I experienced in relationships before was things like all right, you start talking to this guy or girl, right? And a few months in, after the honeymoon phase wears out, your text becomes dry, it becomes the same old hey, what are you doing?
And you're just talking
and
to
you're just going through the motions, right? I think this type of thing really differentiated that for me and for us, because every day we had something new to talk about, a new perspective that I got to see of Trinity or she got to see of me. We got different conversations, and I think that was our thing. Like, we always had good conversation, we always talked, disagree or agree, we kind of left it at what it was. We always prayed at the end of the night, and I think that was kind of one of the things that really established a foundation for us. Right,
and I think kind of kept everything together. Like, we didn't have time to fall short because we were courtship is, it's not strict, but it's something you really got to stick to, because if you don't stick to the guidelines of courtship, you fall right back into just dating, like treating it like a normal relationship, not communicating as often. You become dry, you become lifeless in your relationship, and that's not going to help you in the long run. Like, you want to make sure you're intentionally setting time being patient, being loving with one another in order to effectively court. We enjoyed our courtship because we both had the same goal in mind. And like Trey said, like, it's very important to understand and know what the other person wants. Because no matter how well you do in your courtship, no matter what you do, it will never be what the other person wants, or it'll never make them happy if they don't want to court and if they just want to date, you know? So make sure you guys understand what your end game is, what your final destination is.
I think for us, communication, especially because we were long distance, was a huge thing. And I don't mean communication as, hey, this is what I did today, or hey, this is what I'm doing. I mean emotionally, spiritually, like, hey, this is what I think, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I, and I feel like it was overall transparency. Like, you know, you often think of, you know, when you're dating, like, okay, I gotta impress this person, or I gotta do this, or I gotta do that, or like, you know, if I buy her this, then okay, man, like, that'll be it for her, or however you think about it. It's very, let me put on my best, you know, outfit. Let me put on my Sunday's best and my mask, and let me, you know, shine, you know, or look this certain way. And I think that is one of that would be a very big fault in courting, because I think for us, like, we learned that we had to be transparent, because how are you ever going to really know? I feel like courting is really getting to know somebody.
It's getting down to the dirt stuff.
Yeah, like real personal, intimate, getting to know somebody. And so for us, like, that was kind of one of our biggest things, was like, we have to communicate, whether you're going out hanging out with your friends, whether you're doing this, whether you're doing that. Like, we always talked. I always knew how Trinity felt about anything that happened.
Boy, did he.
And vice versa. So I feel like, definitely communicate, definitely be open, and don't be, I know for guys, like, vulnerability was a big thing for me. Like, I hate being vulnerable. I hate, you know, opening up or talking about whatever type of thing that makes me emotional. Like, I had to put that aside and just have that conversation.
Yeah. And it definitely tears down your pride, because in order for something to work, you gotta give 100%. And I feel like in our courtship, we had to give 100%. Like, if Trey did not like something, he had to tell me, because even being long distance, and even if you're not long distance, you don't know what the other person is thinking, you know? And it's so important to voice your concerns, to voice how you feel, because that is the way you're going to be able to move forward, and you're going to be able to grow and understand one another. Like, if you ball everything up and you never explain or never talk to the other person and communicate, I feel like everything's going to just crumble down, you know? And there's been so many times where Trey has wanted to not tell me something or not share something and just be passive aggressive, vice versa, and we almost could have, you know, ruined a lot, you know? And not even just ruin, it could have just been a simple, oh, hey, where are you going at 9 o'clock at night? And I'm like, I'm going to the store. But if I'm trying to just be like, don't worry about it, that could have easily been like an argument, you know? Because you gotta communicate, and they gotta know where you are, because it's a trust thing as well as building a bridge to the future.
Right.
It was deep.
Yeah, so we did a lot of intentional things, to, like she said, like, if she went out with her friends, she was texting me, sending me pictures, whatever, like
Snapchat. I still got a lot.
Yeah, it was just super intentional, and I think that's the whole basis behind courting, is really getting to know somebody. And like Trinity said, like, it might not work out. You might get to know somebody and be like, wow, like, I don't think, you know, this is good for us, or this is who I'm supposed to be with, and that's fine.
Just be friends.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this whole thing of whatever, cheating, leading people. It just doesn't have to be
it doesn't
a
have
lot
to
of the
end
mess.
in toxicness. Yeah, it doesn't have to be drama. Like, it just doesn't have to be like that. And at this point in 2019, in all of our lives, like, everyone's time is so important, and everyone is trying to just have the life they deserve and the life they want and the life that actually God has created for you. You know, like, it's so important to remember you are valuable just as everyone else. So the next thing in courting, to make sure that it really goes well and it's effective, you got to make sure you pay attention to each other's family. Me and Trey were very, very, very huge family-oriented people. Like, that was the number one thing I asked, and made sure he knew about me. Because my family means the world to me. Trey's family is his world. So it's just important to get to know the family during your courtship. So when Trey came down, I didn't know about this, but my family actually set up this little bachelorette type of questionnaire game thing.
I've never been afraid of families. I've never been afraid to talk to dads or moms or sisters or brothers. Like, that's never been something I had a personal fear with, because I feel like, you know, I don't have any insecurity with that. Like, I am who I am, and that's what it is. So I was super excited about it. Like, I know Trinity told me a lot about her family and brother and sister and her parents, and so that was something I was looking forward to when I got there. You know, everybody was happy to meet me or whatever.
They loved Trey. Man loved, probably a little more than me, you know?
It was good. It was good to get down and talk to them, and I think the first night, we're sitting in the kitchen, it's late, we stayed up late talking or whatever, and they just started asking me questions. What do you want to do? How do you want to do this? What's your relationship with God? What's going on? I'm like, man, and I love questions, so I got a full-blown answer for all of it. I was just like, dang, like, this is a real thing. But it was good to see that her family cared that much about her to ask me those type of questions.
Yeah.
And to really understand who I was, especially since we were courting, and I was perfectly okay with that, because I knew, like, okay, one day these would be my family too. So it was great. It was great. But yeah, it was a lot, but I think it was important. So in courting, families matter, and I think it has to be an intention to get to know each other's family. See, I learned a lot about Trinity, not just through her, but through her family, and
Who called me the Hulk.
Yeah.
Constantly.
So, right. Definitely focus on family. Definitely be intentional about getting to know them. See what they want to do.
Yeah, because I feel like it was completely different when I met Trey's family. One, because we got to Pittsburgh super late, and I was drained.
Trinity didn't even talk. She was sitting there like,
That is not true, but it was so late, because I had drove 7 hours to Virginia. As soon as I got to Virginia, we exchanged promise rings.
We did.
We exchanged promise rings. Oh my God.
I forgot about that.
I did too.
Yeah.
We exchanged promise rings, and then me and Trey hopped on the road within the same hour and went straight to Pittsburgh. We got right back on the road, and Pittsburgh is like 5.5 hours. Like, so I drove a total of...
You were in the car for a total of,
almost like 12 hours. Okay? Like, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I was drained, and we got there late, and his family's like just got off of work. They're all happy, excited to meet me, and I'm like, he's like, are you nervous? And nerves melted away 7 hours ago. Like, I am so tired right now, but I'm excited. So they would ask me a whole bunch of questions, and his mom was like, how do y'all know each other? How did y'all meet? Do y'all know each other from music? Because Trey's like a worship major. Yeah, I don't know nothing about music. I don't know anything. I said my voice sounds like
a cat dying.
Exactly. There's nothing angelic.
You ever hear a rabbit scream?
I'm about to kill you.
No. I'm saying, like, it's the cutest rabbit scream you've ever heard, but you know.
Anyways, God didn't bless that department, and I'm okay with that, because my daughter loves it.
She does. Okay. I love it.
Now, it meant the world to me to meet them, and it meant everything to Trey. So we spent the whole weekend or week, I can't remember where we went together, and they showed me like different places to go, like sightseeing. Like we went out to eat. Like it was really great, and I knew I almost cried. I think I was literally in mid tears when I was just saying like it meant so much to me to belong, you know, because I dated a lot of people and I never felt like I belonged in their family. Like it looked awkward, it felt awkward. They didn't have the same beliefs as me, and if they did, they were kind of like lukewarm in their faith. And I knew I needed a family that I could depend on and count on. Even raising up my kids, like I needed a strong Christian family. Like that was important to me. And so when I met his family and just was with them, I literally was like, Trey, like they're so perfect. And like I didn't think I could ever find that. So for me and for a courtship period, it's so important to meet the family and actually try to get to know them. Because you marry the person, but you also marry their family. So it's very important.
Trinity hit on our promise ring.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that just kind of leads us into like the next thing.
Seals the deal.
We were going to talk about. You got to be committed to the courtship. I know for me, like, I was the guy who, you know, if somebody or, you know, if a female made me mad and we're in a relationship, then, all right, like, then that's it. I don't talk to you, you don't hear from me. It's like you never existed, really. And I know a lot of people like that who just, you know, kind of move on to the next. Oh, you got on my nerves? All right, to the next. Oh, you made me upset? All right, on to the next. Oh, you told me about myself? All right, on to the next. Or you keep them around, but you kind of like keep them on a leash to where they don't go anywhere, but, you know, you're not really giving them the attention that they deserve. So it's just kind of like, I've been through that. And so for those in courtship, considering courtship, or just watching this video, if you ever get to courtship period, you got to be committed. And that's kind of where the promise ring came in. We talked about it, and I thought for me, like, the promise ring was just saying, like, this is what it is. Like, I'm promising to be committed to you, to have this for you, and for our marriage. And so
I'm over here getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. That was so beautiful.
Yeah, I was super nervous when I was...
Man, he was shaking.
I never did a promise ring or anything like that before, so I was...
He was putting it on my hand, and he was like... I was like, babe, like, are you okay? And but it was a big deal, you know, because that goes to show, like, how committed we were. I knew I was going to get him a promise ring a month into dating. Like, I told him, I said, I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know if guys do this, but how do you feel about wearing a promise ring if I got it for you? And he was like, I would love a promise ring. Like, I would love a promise ring. So that kind of was like, okay, well, when we meet each other next time, like, we're going to exchange promise rings. And that was like our little ceremony. And it was a big deal that my mom kind of wanted to have it in Georgia and do this big thing. But I said, no, like, this is so important to me and Trey because I know he's the one I'm going to marry. Like, it just seals the deal. So if you're serious about courting, look into doing a promise ring. If you don't know what it is or what it means, look at the story behind a promise ring, okay? Because you will not be disappointed, and it just really helps put the cherry on top of the cake.
So yeah, promise ring. Yeah, definitely look into it. Consider it. I think it shows your level of commitment. You don't have to do it. If you do it, just because you don't get somebody a promise ring doesn't mean you're not committed, or doesn't mean that you're not, you know, faithful in your courtship, or that you're not going to get married. It's just a symbol, and we thought it meant a lot to both of us, so that's why we chose to do that. So yeah, you got to be committed. Don't let the arguments or whatever you find out, you know, you're not ever going to date the perfect person.
Never.
And so they're going to get on your nerves. Something's going to happen.
The perfect person doesn't even exist. So whoever is waiting off for the perfect person, perfect people don't exist. We are all flawed.
Right.
you know? So there is someone perfect for you, but to try to find someone who's never sinned, it's not going to happen. You have a list, and on the list you say, I want this person to be this height, and I want this person to be this amount of weight, and I want this person to have this characteristic and this characteristic and this characteristic, without having all this baggage or without having all of these different things. I just want the perfect parts. You're never going to find everything perfect, you know. God, He created us all in His image, but we are all perfectly imperfect. And so, with that being said, don't let a good thing pass you by because you're waiting for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, because I don't think we can ever find someone who doesn't come with something, you know? You just have to choose to love them through that. Right. Like, I came to our relationship broken, and Trey had to let me heal, you know, during our friendship, during courtship, even that. Like, that's another story that we're going to explain next time. But remember one time I hung up on him? Yeah, he was ready to call it quits. Because that is a big deal to Trey. Like, he came with already... Stuff. He came with a lot.
Stuff.
That was just ridiculous. But
stuff.
I loved him through it. Like, he loved me through my mess. And you love each other, and that's how you know, like, this is the one for me.
And we didn't have a perfect courtship, so don't expect it to be perfect. Just stay committed to it, and hopefully, you know, it ends in what you guys both want.
Yeah. So. Yeah. What you guys both want. And I love this man with all my heart. I tell Trey every day, side note, that he is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. And even when we argue and, you know, I'm like, man, you get on my nerves, I still remember looking at him for the very first time, and all of my worries and doubts and fears just melted away, you know, and being able to understand and know that I have a partner who's always going to have my best interests come first, it's just, man, making me emotional. But yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video and you guys want to see another Trent and Trey talk, another video on courtship, or on how to effectively court and how we get to engagement, it's a big deal. If you guys want to see that, let us know in the comments below. Like, let us know what you enjoyed about this video, if it has helped you, help clarify some things that you never realized about courting.
Or even if maybe you have some tips that you want to leave for other people who are reading the comments.
Yeah, definitely share. And we're always reading, we're always watching. Like, definitely this is a community. We all need to grow, we all need help. And even not just sometimes with courting, if you want to leave any relationship advice for anyone, leave it below. We're creating a great environment, you guys. So, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you comment in the section below what we have already asked, and share with other people. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my channel. We will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.